Hey everyone, it's Anna here from Journeys. I wanted to come and say hello and tell you a little bit about what I'm hoping to do over the next maybe month, maybe less, maybe more. So a few days ago or maybe last week, I asked you what questions you have for me about my burnout experience. So for those of you who don't know, I experienced burnout probably about 10-ish years ago now. I was working in Christian ministry and over the course of about 7 years eventually discovered that I was burnt out. And I was very young. I was in my early to mid 20s during that time. And it was quite an intense time, I guess, and a time where I didn't know myself and I didn't know what was really going on and how to help myself and how to support myself in that process of what was happening for me. So I was curious about what questions you have for me as someone who's experienced burnout, and now in my work with Journeys and my counselling that I do and the speaking that I do around the place as well, a lot of it is based around burnout prevention. One of the things I believe about burnout is that I think that we can prevent it, and I think that we can understand about what's gone on for us when we have been burnt out to try and prevent it from happening again. So I'm going to, so thank you so much for everyone who sent in questions, both here and also on Facebook. I'm so grateful, and you've sent in some really curly questions actually, some questions that have kind of made me think a little bit and also look at my own stuff. And, you know, that's part of the process of part of me wanting to be authentic and vulnerable, I guess, in my story and to be able to hopefully help you and help others on this journey as well. But today I wanted to start by, this wasn't one of the questions, but I think it's a helpful place to start, is what is burnout? When you Google burnout, often one of the first things that comes up is cars doing burnouts, and that's not what we're talking about here, obviously. And so burnout is something that can be a different word or be called something different in other places. So I call what I experience burnout. Some people that I work with talk about it as compassion fatigue, talk about it as adrenaline fatigue. Now, those things and burnout there are differences, which is quite an intricate conversation, I guess. But I think that in all of those experiences, there are things that cross over. So often burnout is kind of talked about in maybe kind of the corporate field. Compassion fatigue is often talked about in the real caring fields. So nurses, doctors, even teachers, mums can get compassion fatigue, pastors, so social workers, people who are really kind of on the ground caring for people. And so, and adrenaline fatigue, that's specifically, I guess, kind of connected to the adrenal system in our body. So we're going to talk about burnout. I'm going to share with you a few different definitions of people that I kind of use when I share about burnout, and then I'm going to share my definition of burnout. So the definition I generally use in my workshops is just straight from the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and it says that burnout is exhaustion of physical or emotional strength or motivation, usually as a result of prolonged stress or frustration. So the keys here are exhaustion. It affects us physically and emotionally. It affects our motivation, and it often happens because of prolonged stress or frustration. And I particularly love that part of the definition, that it's connected to stress and frustration, because there are a lot of things in our life that we do that we're actually really frustrated about having to do. So if we could get curious about that and wonder, why am I feeling frustrated about that? Is there something I can do to change it? Is there not something I can do? What does it mean if there's not anything I can do about it? And so I once had a counsellor say to me, Anna, you know that the longer you sit in a space of doing something that you don't like, the more you're going to get frustrated and the quicker you're going to get back to burnout. And when she said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, oh, of course, yes, that's so true. And it made me really rethink where I was and what was going on for me. A couple other definitions. This one's from Christina Maslach. She's a psychologist who has done work in this area. She says that burnout is emotional exhaustion, loss of empathy, a sense of disconnection, and loss of confidence in one's professional competence. And so this one, I guess, is specifically connected to professional competence. Another person, Elizabeth Lennon, she works with a lot of people around burnout, and I love hers too. She says burnout is a normal reaction to abnormal circumstances. We are right in the middle of abnormal circumstances, people. We're sitting in the middle of a pandemic. Wherever you live around Australia, the world, you're going to be experiencing it differently, but this is not normal. These are not normal circumstances. So however you respond to that, we will all and are all responding really differently to this pandemic. In some ways similar, but in other ways really different. And so one of the things that I think is really important during this time is to so be kind to ourselves, right? Because this is not normal. And so how we're going to respond and try and cope with it is going to be the best that we can do. And sometimes we don't know how else to respond to an abnormal circumstance. And so we kind of click into survival mode, and living in survival mode long term helps to get us to burnout. My definition is really simple of burnout, and it kind of, I guess, helps people to really work out, are they just tired or are they maybe burnt out? So I just say burnout is being emotionally, socially, physically, and spiritually exhausted. And the key there is exhausted. We can't do anything. It's not just about being tired, it's about being exhausted. And that's, I guess, the difference. So one of the questions I did get, and I'll dig into it more in another video, but is how do you know that you're burnt out? And I would say if you are able to say that you feel exhausted versus tired, then I think that's a really good place to start and to kind of unpack that more and get curious about that. So I hope that gives you an idea of what burnout is. It affects us physically, emotionally, and I believe spiritually, socially as well. And it has to do with often a loss of motivation. It can impact our professional life. I actually think burnout impacts every part of our life. I don't think it's just about the professional life. And that's kind of was an original understanding of burnout, is that it would always come from a work catalyst. I actually believe you can get burnout in your personal life as well. And so especially people who are in caring roles and how they try and balance caring at work and caring at home and in your personal life. And remember, as Elizabeth Lennon says, burnout is a normal reaction to abnormal circumstances. So I hope that helps you and gives you a bit of an idea about what burnout is. I'm looking forward to answering the rest of your questions soon. If you've got any questions from what I've said today, just pop them in the comments or direct message me or private message me, and I'll get back to you. If there's something that's coming up for you around burnout, please reach out and see if working with me might be a good opportunity to help you understand your burnout a little bit better, or what you're experiencing, and seeing if it actually maybe is burnout. I hope that's helpful, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.